Okay, sorry.
Hi. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the December 22nd, 2020 Village Buchanan Workshop meeting. The meeting is being conducted in accordance with Executive Order 202.1. You can view live if you go to the Village Facebook page. Comments, you can call your comments in to 737-1034. And Marcus, what was the other thing that we needed to add on for people? Anybody that's on this, if they would raise their hand after we do the presentation on the fire department, which is number 2 on the agenda, please feel free to do that. I am going to change the agenda around a little bit. This evening, we are very fortunate to have the building department, but for now, let's not forget the Pledge of Allegiance, so please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, it's a few days before Christmas. Santa's on his way. I know who's been naughty and who's been nice, and I'm naming names, guys, so behave. So, let's start with the meeting. If the building inspectors could please introduce themselves.
My name is Brian Cook.
Okay, Brian.
My name is Peter Cook.
Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for being with us this evening.
Welcome.
You have some items that you would like to discuss with us.
Well, there was a question about the accessory apartments and where the village stands at the moment on the laws that had been passed. Most of the accessory apartments, virtually all, that even if they had the 3-year extension from the planning board, have expired. They've expired by several years, actually.
Okay.
Letters have not gone out probably to any of the participants in the accessory apartments. Yeah, well over 5 years.
Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. We didn't realize that, but yeah, that's important. That's what the law is, and that we need to stay on top of for many reasons, and also for safety reasons. These accessory apartments have to be inspected.
Annually.
Okay, annually. And so our law says every 3 years?
You can assign at the time when you permit one to occur a time frame of 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years.
Okay.
That would be planning board, I believe. Yeah, the board assigns that time frame.
Okay.
3 years maximum.
All right. So I'm not sure if anybody's on from the planning board, but we will get that message to them to have them look at that, what they feel appropriate. I don't know, myself, I don't think a year is a problem, but. So when you inspect for an accessory apartment, what types of things you look for? Safety issues and
We look for safety issues, basically quality of life issues as well. We look for smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors, to make sure that the heating system flues that go out are expelling carbon monoxide outside as opposed to leaking to the inside. Making sure that windows can actually be closed and not broken glass. Doors can close and lock. There's adequate space.
Egress.
Yeah. Egress in and out, should there be a complication due to a fire or some other calamity. Also that there's adequate parking and it's properly drained, and
oh, okay.
there's a few things we need to know.
Okay.
So Teresa, now I was talking to Brian and Peter about this, and I don't know legally what the next steps would be, since all of these accessory units or apartments expired many, many years ago, and Stephanie's on the line too. The question is, does the village board have to adopt any kind of motion to restart, allow people to reapply and start the clock all over again and come in front of the planning board? Or I just want to make sure who has the authority to do this, because according to what we see in our records, nothing has been done, and the homeowners have not reapplied in the last at least 10 years.
Rosemary had issued letters multiple times pre-2005. I went through all the records that I could find. No one followed through. The owners did not follow through. And when the previous building inspector took over, she handed the list to him to move forward, and nothing was done at that point, which it should have been addressed then, but it wasn't. So as of now, every one of about approximately 30 that I found in the records that Marcus asked me to research, no one has any ability to legally have that accessory apartment at this time. So we're trying to understand if you want to move forward, relinquish them and have them give them a grace period to try to reapply, say from January starting to like June, to reapply for the whole process. The packet that they need to apply. We do need to address a little bit of that. It's very involved, and I think a lot of people won't want to even bother doing it once they read through it. And I think the revenue from the town would want it, and otherwise they're going to keep having those apartments illegally if they don't follow through. So there's a few things we should address to try to simplify the application process, possibly, to make people want to do this, because otherwise I don't know if they truly would want to.
Well, the other issue, as we discussed, is that people who had the accessory unit no longer has one. So the building department will have to go there and make sure they've discontinued that accessory unit as well. So the idea would be is whoever doesn't reapply, we have to inspect and make sure they don't have one.
Yes.
But the board have to make a determination, first of all, if you want to start the process all over again. So I think myself and the building department and Stephanie would like to know, how do you want to proceed? Do you want to give them a grace period starting January to June again? Or say all of them are over with, and then the building inspector have to inspect all of them anyway to make sure who has and who does not have one.
Yeah, Marcus. Let me just ask a question here. On the reinspection for you guys in terms of manpower and how much time it's going to take, have you looked into what you got on your plate already? What you're looking forward to doing, and how encumbered is this going to be to go to those 30 units, or what type of time period?
Do we talk about the annual inspection as opposed to the original?
Well, there's an original inspection which would have to occur now, and that would be all of them at one time, basically, or a short period of time. And then there'd be the continuing one, whether it be 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, for us. And to cause them to renew again. But our inspections would be once a year. So once we accomplish that, 30 inspections isn't that much.
No.
But we do need to have the authority to go to them. I imagine we're going to get some resistance, and people may not choose to have us come into their home. That is not uncommon.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an application that's put in. This is something that the village allows, and to me, I understand, with COVID and everything too, but the problem is, we really want to make sure that these places are safe for whoever they have living there. That is so important. I mean, so if you go in and they all have a smoke alarm, so you would say, look, you need to get a smoke alarm. You need to point out the certain things, safety, and then you're talking about quality of life. We, the village, the building department dropped the ball here. It's not the residents' fault that, the ball was dropped.
According to what I read in 21122, your local law on accessory apartments, it's up to the owner to contact or reapply.
Okay.
We can send them a letter, let's just say, but they have not, no one had followed through after Rosemary had sent out multiple letters to, in the file that I found originally, there were only about 18 or 19 apartments, say, listed on the rate. I found about 30. And again, I don't know if all 30 are actually active because they're not listed in the file because an application may have been applied for, but it wasn't approved, but I can't tell what was or wasn't. So we have approximately 30. And it's...
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
There are 18 listed in our files.
Yes.
And but you're saying there are 30? And
I found approximately 30 in the file.
18 were on record.
18 were on record. That is a correct terminology, yes.
What do you mean by on record as opposed to in the file?
As the list that the town actually had from approximately
The town or the village?
Village.
village. From the 90s up until about 2010 or 12, it was pretty much about the same amount of items listed on that chart.
Okay. Well, I think that there's some, you could in some way say that as the code says, that the owners are responsible to pursue the renewals.
Yes.
But at the same time, the village has done nothing. So I don't see any kind of, cold turkey cutoff here.
Okay.
I think that there's a couple of options. One is to use a time frame like you were suggesting, Brian, like a 6 month, and say that you have until then to apply for renewal, and after that, if you have not done so, your apartment will be you'll be ordered to shut down that apartment. Or we can say that in effect, all these apartments are currently shut down, but we're giving a 6 month grace period. I don't know which is a better way to word it, and then give a 6 month grace period within which to renew.
Apply. Right.
A couple of things though. This does not completely isn't completely separated from illegal apartments. There are about 65 legal two-family houses in the village, a little bit more, maybe 65, 66, somewhere around there. But there's also illegal apartments, and I think that what we need to do is address the accessory apartments, but then also come up with some kind of strategy for illegal apartments. When we're inspecting accessory apartments, obviously you have read the code. I did not realize that there's a maximum of 2 people are permitted to occupy an accessory apartment. So if there are any groups or families with more than 2 people,
Yes.
That accessory apartment is illegal.
That's correct.
Also, accessory apartments can be a maximum. This one I don't remember if it's 25 or 30%. There's a percentage of the square footage of the total house, which that is a maximum for the accessory apartment. I don't remember the figure offhand. Do you happen to know?
I remember the 30% about a business being in a one-family residence, and they had a.
Okay. Well, all right. So we have to check that out.
Accessory apartment.
Yeah. I think there's a minimum size or a maximum size or both. I'm not sure.
And I think on apartments, Nick, I think the minimum square footage in general, I know it's not an apartment, but the minimum square footage is 700 feet.
We found
We found it here. It said 300 square feet, but not larger than 600 square feet, and in no case shall it exceed 33% of the.
Okay.
That's for an accessory
Okay.
apartment.
So there you go. So
300 square feet?
As a minimum.
600.
That's,
well, Teresa, a studio apartment could be 200, 250 square feet.
that's really, yeah.
Yeah, studio.
Okay.
Well, I've known people in Manhattan living in big closets.
We're in the village of Buchanan, in the country, up north. We're upstate. We're upstate.
But people that are looking for financial help are not beyond renting out big closets. So for some people, this is very important financially. So as far as the term, if we're going to renew accessory apartments, we also have to keep in mind that upon transfer, it is voided.
Yes.
So these units that have sold are completely illegal. Right now. And
Nick, there's a few of those.
Yeah, and I have no doubt. We have the list with the owner, and when we compare it to who owns it now, when we do that math, we have to check our records to make sure it's going to the right person.
The owner has to live in the home.
Yeah. So
rent
I think we give that 6 month window. Yes, the owner occupied. That's correct. So we have to give a 6 month window and say apply and subject yourself to an inspection. After that, these will be deemed illegal apartments. There also, there's other things too. You can't have more than one kitchen. Are you required to have 2 forms of egress?
In any space, that would depend upon all bedrooms have to have 2 forms of egress. and depending upon the square footage of the space, you need to have 2 forms of egress out of the entire space.
Every bedroom, 2 forms of egress, one of which has to be a window, because most bedrooms only have one door.
Correct, but there are some bedrooms where people place in the basement where there's a secondary door that goes outside and a stair.
Okay, so there's a bunch of technicalities, but I would a 6-month period, letter going out, and a 6-month period to reapply and be subject to an inspection. Is that
Nick, is that a planning board call or our call?
Planning board is responsible for approving accessory apartments.
Okay.
I believe, isn't that
Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
Yes.
That's correct.
Yes.
So I guess we kind of want some input from the planning department on that also? Our planning board?
That would be helpful.
Yeah.
You don't want people being upset.
No, we don't want that.
Okay. All right. So we're doing some preliminary discussions here to try and get a handle on it.
Yes.
Okay.
So the question would be is, do you want to confirm with Stephanie, do we have to do a motion at the next meeting to authorize this grace period and allow people to reapply and then we
No.
go through the
No, and
process?
I wouldn't put that out there like that, actually.
What we have, okay, what we
I
have
mean, I'll
to
talk to you off the record about it.
Okay.
I wouldn't put that out there right now.
All
Also,
right.
our code allows us, the building department, inspector on reasonable notice to inspect these accessory apartments at any point.
do at any point, correct?
Right, so I don't think you want to say that they're null and void at the moment. I think we just want to give a grace period to come and reapply.
Okay.
Right.
So that we keep them able to be inspected, labeled accessory apartments, and then, later, if they choose not to come in, you do the final inspection and it's over. But we're hoping, and I agree with the building inspectors, you're probably hoping that they continue. So let's leave them open, send out the letters, do our inspections, and have them come in my opinion.
All right, I just want to make sure since that has been done for many, many years and they expired, I'll make sure there's no issues legally. Perfect, okay. I think we got a game plan.
We have to verify that it is owner occupied. That's very important because
Yes.
a lot of people are,
They don't want to make
that accessory apartments are just treating them like a 2-family.
Yes, that's correct.
They are not.
We can do that now, Nick. We can inspect now. The building inspector has the right to do that. So,
Okay. Well,
if you want them to do, you can ask them to do.
maybe we send out the letter to them saying that you have 6 months to reapply, and we will be starting inspections soon, which you are subject to. That over during that 6-month period, we'll be doing the inspections.
I'll be glad to draft a letter for you all.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be perfect.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yep.
All right, good.
Great.
There's a hand raised, Teresa. Harmon Barker, if you want to allow me to unmute him.
Yeah, please, yes. I can see it.
Okay, Harmon, you should be able to speak now.
You hear me?
Yes.
I don't think you can see me, but one of the things I want to bring up is the intent of these apartments. And I don't know what the application says, and if the reapplication, because it seems like the inspectors are looking at.
What?
I'm sorry, Harmon, say that again, please. We'll go for a second.
Is this better?
Yeah, but now we can see you. Go ahead.
How's everyone?
There you are.
I'm not sure you heard, so I'll start over. So, listening to the inspectors discuss what they do in the inspection, it seems more structural, safety. I guess now they probably look at owner occupied. But, the legislative intent of these apartments, from what I see, is 2 things, maybe 3, but 2 things. Is 1, to allow a member of the village, family member, to live with them. And 2, for the special needs of low and moderate income. So, to me, those are the only 2 intents for these apartments. It's not, I want to have an apartment in my backyard. I want to put an apartment in my basement to rent out to make extra income because I know apartments, I can get it. Maybe I'm reading it wrong, but that's what it seems like it is. So, as far as the reinspection, I think there should be 2 questions of who's actually living there. And if the was for my grandmother who passed away 5 years ago, and now I'm renting it out, who's proving that the grandmother, is checking in on it? Or vice versa, if I'm an elderly person and, I had a broken hip and I'm out for 3 years and now I'm clear for whatever reason. Or I pass away and my kids take it over. Now they're renting it out, like I think Nicholas said, as a two-family. Who's saying, that the special needs has been cured or what that matter. So I think the inspection has to include more than just, safety issues or the structure of the building. Because that could pass very quickly every time.
Can I just address that really briefly?
Sure, please.
Because those are what he's talking about is correct. And those are the things that when they come into the planning board for a reapplication after a year or 3 years, initially it's a 1 year. And then the building inspector inspects and sends them back in. And then the planning board can determine whether it should be 1, 2, or 3 years. Maximum of 3. And I haven't been involved in one of these and didn't know there were any others for probably 10 years, 8 years. And that was very clearly what was discussed when they were seeking approval. Who is it? Is it a relative? What's the situation? It wasn't to be just renting to anybody.
Right.
So I think that's correct, that when they come before the planning board, they choose to come back in and keep this legal. Those are the kinds of things the planning board absolutely asks them.
So on a re-inspection, they actually have to go through the planning board, or it's just the inspectors going in and saying, oh, this looks good, check off, you're good again?
No, they get one for 1 year, and then they get inspected, they have to come back before the planning board. And then at that point, the planning board can decide whether to keep it, come back in 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, with an inspection every year. But initially, and you're correct, because initially the questions are very connected to the legislative intent. It's a relative, it's an elderly person whose college-age granddaughter is going to be in the accessory part, whatever it is. And I haven't seen any re-inspections come in a long time, and so I'm not sure who's living there now. But I think if we give them 6 months and have them all come back in, that is what the planning board will deal with. So you're correct. They'll look at it, but it's not the building department that'll do that. They'll send them to the planning board who will do that.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear, 'cause I thought you said I thought it was like after 3 years, it's just inspected again, but they have to go, if you make it a 3-year window, they have to go to the planning board again and get it reapplied.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And the initial time, it's 1 year only. It's not 1, 2, or 3. It's 1 year, then you come back. And I'm agreeing with you that probably they should keep that, yearly or every 2 years rather than 3. But that's up to the planning board. We'll talk to them.
And there's one actually there. It's listed actually as a 2-family, but it's on the list as an accessory apartment, which I don't think you could have an accessory apartment if you have a 2-family.
No.
So I don't know if that's like a mix-up where now all of a sudden it's converted to a 2-family by the time.
Well, in the a lot of the 2 families in the village were originally houses with accessory apartments, including my house. And in the 80s, the village allowed people with accessory apartments to apply to have it converted to a legal 2-family. That's probably how a lot of the 2 families in the village were formed.
All right, I do have in the chat box from JB, this is excellent, very happy to see this is a topic of interest and benefits all residents. Harmon, do you have any other questions?
No, you can, I have gone through some of these locations and issues, but it seems like the building inspectors have them all, down, so they're happy to discuss, but, the 18 or so that I have, I've looked into them, and there's a few outliers that, don't look good.
Can I just read from the code book what Harmon was referring to on legislative intent, the exact wording? It is the specific purpose and intent of this provision to provide the opportunity for the development of small rental dwelling units designed in particular to meet the special housing needs of single persons and couples.
Yes.
I think it's, just to comment on that part of it so far, it's kind of hard to legally, I would say, exclude a single parent with a child.
Yeah.
Isn't that a little touchy to say single persons and couples of low and moderate income and not allow a single mother or a single father?
Well, are they mutually exclusive? A single person might have a child, right?
Yeah,
Of course.
housing needs of single. That's true. Of single persons and couples of low and moderate income,
Yeah.
both young and old, and of relatives of families presently living in the village of Buchanan. Means like, your mom sells her house and moves in with you.
Yeah.
So that's
Hey, Nick, what's the statute date on that? When was that effective
This
date?
is from 19. This is amended. The last amendment to this was in 1991. I think. I'm not sure when the accessory apartment was first added to the code. Might have been 89. But before there was an accessory apartment code, there was something else in the code to allow you to board workers that worked at local factories or the power. I mean, going back in the 60s and 70s, there was some kind of something in the code that allowed for people to rent to workers temporarily. I don't know. It wasn't called an accessory apartment, but there was some kind of boarding provision. Do you happen to remember anything about that, Teresa?
Nick, I'm not that old.
No, but you've spoken to a lot of older people.
Yes, no, I'll have to ask my mom and my uncle, and if they remember anything
There
like
was some,
that.
anyway, so that's basically when you're saying single people and couples of low and moderate income, and it can be your relative from the village of Buchanan, but it doesn't have to be. Pretty much means you can do one or two people. And what are we going to do? Are we going to do an income check?
That was my question. I don't know how we're going to identify what's low and moderate income. I mean, normally you're going to request income tax returns for these people. I don't know what the intent of that law was.
Did we ever scrutinize that when people applied?
No, it's not on the application.
There's nothing in the application about that.
So
The current application.
I also want to say something. We're talking about 18 to 30. And obviously, if they're smaller and they're single people or they're older people, and that they to help them to be able to afford to have a place to live, let's go back to what the county is trying to do to the village and trying to force us to do legislation. You know what? We have affordable homes. We have 18 to 30 of these accessory apartments. We've got 2 group homes. So, let's keep that all in mind. The village is affordable to live. And, we have all these other accessory and different places for people to rent. So just, keep that in the back.
Teresa, there's another question on the chat. You might want to read that one too. It's
yeah,
a good question.
And from JB again, can elderly use accessory apartments to subsidize rent?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if they can have an accessory apartment legally in their home.
If it fits the criteria.
Yeah.
And, I'm sure there are some people of low and moderate income in the apartments, but, you could have a couple making $200,000 a year in there also. It's not, if one's a lawyer and one's an engineer, So, we have to decide, are we going to use the low and moderate income? I think there are definitions of that that are generally used in housing that we can use. I don't know what the cutoff is. If it's 60,000, below 60,000 is low, and 60 to 80 is moderate. Whatever the figures are,
they have that criteria now.
there is a criteria. We can see what the labels are, and then we have to decide if we're going to ask for proof of income.
It looks that's a planning board review, right, Steph? In regards to the application, the planning board has to see what they want to request. Correct, Stephanie?
Well, but as I don't remember if it was was Brian or his dad, but one of them just said that that's not on the application.
No, it's not, but it's in the law.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe that application needs to be adjusted because, as they were saying,
That's right.
the inspectors, as they were saying, it's a lengthy form and would discourage people from filling it out, and that has to be added in. So I think that has to be all redone. And then I don't know if anybody's on from the planning board. I don't know if Sean Murray is on, but any comments or suggestions, you know. So who do we want to have readjust that form? Do we want to have the building inspectors look at that form and give us a recommendation of what that form should look like, and then pass it to the planning board and ask them if they're comfortable with it? I don't know.
Well, that's what I was going to suggest to Peter and their experience, Peter and Brian's experience in working with different municipalities, what's out there on how some of the other municipalities have dealt with that, and kind of come back with some recommendation or some comparisons as to what's going on in the market in other villages and towns. Peter?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you know, kind of.
What is considered low income and what is moderate.
I'm sorry, according to what I found online, the Buchanan average income per household was about $109,000, and low income is considered 50% of that, low to affordable. So that would put us in the $50,000 range. Low to moderate income, that's what I'm looking at, the definition of that. And according to that, Buchanan, New York, as of the end of 2018, was $109,000 was the average.
So we get definitely work that out. So I can work with the building department and Sydney and Sharon to create a new form, but then we can pass it to Stephanie for review. Then we'll pass it to the planning board for their review. So we're going to try to get that done as soon as possible, and then open up the grace period after the form is ready to be sent out, and we'll start the 6 months clock from that point, if that sounds reasonable to everybody.
Well, again, I think to get some input from the planning department
Absolutely.
is where we want to go and get that in place, and then we can make our comments from that and go from there. Yeah, sounds good.
I mean, if all 30 come in at once, the planning board's not going to be able to hear them all in one meeting.
Right.
So it needs to set up a thing like make appointments. First in gets an appointment, maximum of 3 per meeting, 2 per meeting, 5 per meeting. Let them. That would be an important thing to hear from them, what they think would be.
Yeah.
To do more than 2 or 3 per meeting could get difficult.
Absolutely.
So we have to consider that in the time frame.
Yep. We'll work that out.
Cindy, has anyone called in? No.
No, and no hands are raised, so it seems to be okay.
Okay.
What does the building inspectors have for us? Anything else? That's a biggie, but is there anything else?
Well, we had some thoughts on some building permit fees in general. And some specific applications to separate off of the building permit application, electrical and also mechanical, plumbing, and air conditioning.
Oh, okay, good.
It's a pretty.
Have you put together a list of possible suggestions that you could pass on to us to have or Marcus send out to us to take a look at those before we get into a discussion of it?
We haven't written it down, but we've discussed it. And I also I spoke with Sharon, and I compared several other municipalities' permit applications, and she actually derived from several of them a sample. So I have some samples for plumbing, mechanical type work, and also for electrical work.
Okay, great. Good.
So my other question is, I don't know if you've looked at demolition, the demolition fees, because we might be having some demolition going on here with the decommission.
I just
want to make sure, we're going to have a lot of demolition going on, but I just want to make sure that we're in the
current.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Good point. Yeah.
Okay.
So, we don't need to delve too far right now, but I do have, I did many times the idea of illegal apartments has come up. We've never gotten too far. I have a list that goes back about 5 years, that from the previous administrator, of 66 different two-family houses in the village, a handful of three-family and multifamily, as well as mixed use that have more than one apartment. You know, how we can utilize this list, and in some way, you know, what kind of strategies for dealing with illegal apartments. You can't just go storming into everybody's house, but there are reasons that we go into houses. If you're called in to do an inspection, if you see something, if the police are called to a house and they see something, there are cases, you know, where you go in and you see, once you're in for a legitimate reason, you can report on things that you see.
Yeah, also the fire department can permit us to get access.
Yes. So, you know, I'd kind of like maybe at another workshop to discuss some kind of strategy. I had clipped this article from 2018 where it was just an article saying White Plains may require rental landlords to register, having a registry. I know some communities do that. I know it gets into some touchy legal stuff when you start doing inspections, and you know, I'm not sure, but I would just sort of like to have a more clear strategy to avoid illegal apartments. The accessory apartments, if they were transferred, some of those could be illegal, but they're, you know, I mean, I know people have pointed out to me, say, you know, there's like at least 3 units in that house over there. You know, I mean, it comes to our attention periodically. I'm not going to mention anything specifically right now, but I can't describe it, about illegal apartments. And, you know, maybe we need some kind of village attack plan. You know, maybe we let people know that they can report in confidence to the village hall.
People do, Nick. People do that now. You probably know. People do that right now.
Yeah.
So
yes. So you know, like some kind of strategy for following up on that, and a plan. Maybe we can continue that part of this conversation one of the next few workshops.
In the application, it also asks, in the event of a corporate ownership of a building prior to an accessory apartment, which would create complications because it's not family or personally lived in. So if we have that's on the application.
Oh, you mean like a holding company?
Yes.
Yeah. And it says list all the directors, officers, stockholders of each corporation owning more than 5.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw.
that's not the intent of the law. So that's something we have to go through the whole application and remove that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Completely.
Well, I see on the 2 families. I see, you know, a corporate name. You know, I see a few of them that are corporate names as opposed to family names. I see one that's an irrevocable trust.
Yep.
You know, so an irrevocable trust could be a private family who just structured that.
Trust, yeah.
But again, that gets into other questions. Good point.
Yeah, and then also in other municipality, we decided to register all of the landlords for this, even to the point that whom they use for plumbing purposes and electrical purposes, such that when we get called in the middle of the night because there's water flowing out all over the place and you can't get a corporate or an off-premise owner, we have the proper person to be calling to come out to make those immediate repairs for emergency.
Huh.
So there's a number of things that registering or listing all of these in the quality of life and the function of it and the amount of complication.
Yeah, sounds very efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, maybe do we try to follow up with that at the next workshop and kind of.
I think it's a good idea, Nick.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, there's a question on the chat box regarding the building inspectors. If you want, can try to express that. Yeah, Anthony Conti has resigned from the village, So we were lucky enough to get 2 part-time building inspectors. So yes, we have 2 building inspectors, but they're both part-time. They're not full-time. Combined hours is actually going to be more than a full-timer. So village benefits from that. And we have 2 experienced building inspectors that we can go to, and they'll be staggering hours, so we can always have somebody in the office. So that's the answer to that question.
And officially, Brian and Peter, welcome to the village.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Doing a good job.
We're trying our best.
Yeah, we're seeing, and we're seeing in more and more of this illegal apartments, and we're trying to stay on top of it. And like Marcus had said, people will let us know. And especially this time of the year, you really can see in the evening.
Oh, yes.
When you have cars parked on lawns, parked on this, parked on the roof, and, because they can't park on the street. And so that's a clear sign that there's a problem. Sometimes there's a few houses you might have where it's a family there and they have 2 teenagers and they have their car. So, but not often. Now, it's usually if you see that massive amount of cars, and that's why we put the law into effect not to park on front lawns, because, but that shows us that screams that there's a problem there at the house.
And paving the front lawn, yeah.
We have one.
Yeah, we have one now where they pave the front lawn and they want to pave more of the front lawn, but we're working on that one.
Oh, okay. But do they have no other parking at all, or they just decide they want to park on the front lawn?
We need more parking for all the tenants.
Yeah, they need more parking for the local
Okay.
people to be rented.
Yes.
All right.
On that one, Teresa, there's a number of violations on that one. Yes.
Oh, yeah. So, times are changing. But yeah, we really need to stay on top of those things, and I appreciate everything you're doing with that too. Thank you. What other questions? Anything else you have for us this evening?
That fees schedule.
No, I think we've covered just about everything I can think of for the moment.
All right, great. Thank you so much. I mean, you can stay on if you want. I know these meetings are scintillating, so if you'd like, you can stay on.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Happy holidays to all of you. And
Okay, Nick, like I said, we're changing up the order here. We didn't want to have them have to wait through our whole meeting. Nick is our liaison. He offered to meet with the firehouse to discuss some issues they have and to give an overview of their needs. So, Nick?
Yeah. Marcus, did the chief and other trustees sign in to the meeting? Are they?
Yeah, I see Andy. I see Bob. I can put. I'm gonna move over to I can move over to a panelist.
Yeah, let's do that.
I did that. Let me see. Bob. So I got Bob and Andy are on. Guys, anybody else that if you can unmute yourselves, Andy or Bob, is there anybody else that I'm missing?
And the chief is with one of you?
I'm gonna, okay.
I think Andy's on separately. It's Bob Outhouse.
Okay, Bob, we can hear you, and Andy, we can hear you. Is there anybody else that will be on tonight as well?
No, that's it.
Okay, good. All right, perfect. Go ahead, Nick.
Okay, so, so 2 things have happened in the last week. One is I discussed the some finance possibilities with Marcus. I wasn't familiar with that for any potential fire department purchases, major purchases. And I also met with the chief, with Andy, and a few of the trustees at the firehouse, well, on Zoom. And then I also went there to look at the equipment. So here's what we basically have. The fire department has 2 primary vehicles for fighting fires, 2 pumpers. One of them is a 1991 vehicle that's probably past its life expectancy. except they did a major refurbishing a few years back that the board authorized using the vehicle replacement fund money to do the refurbishing. And that 1991 vehicle is now their more reliable vehicle. There's also a 1998 pumper that is problematic. There's mechanical issues, electric issues, and they seem, the vehicle is not reliable. And as you can imagine, the fire department has to have reliable vehicles. So this would be like, the old Chevy that somebody works on in their driveway. If you had to take it out to a fire, what happens if it stalls? Can't have that. This vehicle is the one that they would like to replace, the 1998. In order to buy a new pumper, you guys might remember in the past we've talked about the size issue. The firehouse is not that big, and so standard size vehicles don't fit well. In order to get all their vehicles in the firehouse, they have had to get custom-made vehicles which are shorter, and even though they're shorter, they're going to cost about, correct me if I'm wrong, about 20% more in order to have it custom-made to size, get all the equipment in that little package. So right now, in order to get a new pumper and get a full-size vehicle, it would fit in if they go to a smaller rescue vehicle. In addition to the 2 firefighting trucks, there is a rescue vehicle, which is a utility vehicle with all, life-saving equipment, and it looks kind of like a very big EMS truck, and that's, a lot of the stuff that's used for rescue purposes. I'm not going to get into specifics because I don't know too much about it, what equipment is in there other than things like axes and medical equipment and oxygen and things like that. So they can get to a smaller rescue vehicle that will suit their purposes, and then it will fit in with the new truck. There are some demo vehicles that the fire department is looking at. If you get a demo vehicle, vehicles that have not been used in firefighting, but they're used to as a display for different fire departments that are purchasing vehicles. These demo vehicles come at a discount, and there are currently a couple available. Andy, did you happen to check if those are still available, the ones you had looked at?
I did. The engine itself, the pumper, is available. That is still there. That's due to be finished being built in February of next year. It's currently being built. The other one that we talked about, the rescue utility vehicle that we would be replacing our current rescue with for a smaller one, that one is still available as of 3 o'clock this afternoon.
Okay. And what does it mean that it was a demo vehicle? I thought that that means that it's used as a display, or what does that mean? It's a demo vehicle.
Yeah, what they do is the manufacturers of fire apparatus on a normal basis will build certain fire trucks, basic fire trucks, pumpers, and they'll show them off at different shows and stuff to try to get the interest of the buyer.
Okay.
Those rigs are not customized. They're built for very specific basic function, and you go from there. That's why they're normally a little bit cheaper. It also takes the time out of it of 9 to 12 months when you custom build a new fire truck.
Right. Okay. So it seems like with the unreliability of this 1998 vehicle, that time, there's some time factor here. Would like, that they would like to act on this as soon as possible. And the basic numbers of this new pumper is, and these numbers can float up and down a little bit. This is not a finalized. These are not finalized numbers, but the new pumper comes in at around $550,000. The new rescue truck comes in at around $100,000. The trade-in value for the old rescue vehicle, which is still a good vehicle, and this fire truck that is
1998.
The 1998. The estimated trade-in value is about $45,000 for the fire truck and $50,000 for the rescue truck. That's an estimate. Could go, again, that's the trade-in value. So that means we're talking about $650,000 in purchases. Talking about
wait. Are we at? There's two things that we need. We need.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, in order to fit this pumper.
Yeah, I know. No, I knew that whole thing.
They would switch to a new rescue vehicle, which is priced at around $100,000. And the reason is, if they went to a custom vehicle, they'd probably be paying as much as they'd be paying for the rescue vehicle on top of the fire truck price to have the custom vehicle made.
All right.
So
this was what my question was, Nick. I didn't realize. I knew they had been looking for a new fire truck. That I knew, the firehouse.
Right.
But what I didn't understand was also a new utility vehicle. That's
the
purpose
of that is twofold. One is to take advantage of the demo vehicle price, and it's a full-size vehicle. So in order to fit it in, they'd need the rescue truck. The other rescue truck is a little bit smaller than the one they currently have, so they would be able to get both vehicles in.
Okay.
So that's the logic is based on that. You're saving money.
My other question is because it's all about money now. It's all about money, and I understand. I understand everything, but I'm just trying to get the money in my head here.
Well, let me run a couple of things by you. First of all, right now,
I need to know, because we've been asking for this, what is in that account that we...
Yeah, I'm going to explain everything.
Perfect, thank you.
So, the current balance in the vehicle replacement fund is about $257,000. That does not include we have not yet made the payment for the current budget year. So once we make that payment, there will be $307,000 in the vehicle replacement fund.
Okay.
If they get the trade-ins expected, that would bring the fund up to about $400,000 with the trade-ins.
Mm-hmm.
So now, you don't want to deplete that fund fully. So if we put down a couple of $100,000, that would leave money because, the 1991 vehicle looks like they could get another 4 or 5 years out of it, but you always have to, nobody has a crystal ball to be 100% sure. So we don't want to deplete the vehicle replacement fund completely, but if we use $200,000 of it, we would then be looking at financing around $450,000. Interest rates are very low right now, and Marcus had given me a rough estimate that would lead to a yearly payment of about $40,000. Marcus, correct me if I'm wrong, but let me finish first. So we currently are putting $50,000 a year into the vehicle replacement fund. So we would be able to make the payment on these vehicles using that $50,000 payment, and there would not be any additional money from the village required beyond the $50,000 a year that we are currently paying to the village, to the vehicle replacement fund. So
what you're saying is to leave some money in there.
Yes.
Finance the trucks, and the $50,000 that we give anyhow to the village would be used for the finance payment. Is that what you're saying?
Right, and probably it could be something like $40,000 goes to the annual payment, and $10,000 would go into the replacement fund. Whatever amount is left over from the 50. So we would be working with the same budget we're currently working with and not spending more money. We are currently, by the new contract, the ones that would do the purchase, but it would be financed through the current agreement we have with the firehouse. And then if that other 91 goes in 4 or 5 years. I mean, right now they are telling me that that they expect they can get a few more years out of that at least. So I will let anybody else who wants to, maybe anyone from the fire department want to add anything or correct me or make any comments.
Sure, I would like to make one, and I know the mayor. We've spoken about this in the last couple of years for this fire apparatus. We've taken a look at how we can help the village with the apparatus and downsizing. And, the fire service today is becoming more EMS driven. And we feel that if we downsize from the rescue truck, now that rescue truck, if we went to replace that today, would probably be $400,000 itself. So we're taking a step back. We're downsizing the equipment to a lesser expensive vehicle, and we think we can get the job done. And you actually see those vehicles around more often than none now. Fire departments are doing that. And it gives us the capability of allowing other members to drive basically a pickup, small pickup chassis and get those to call. So we opted to look at downsizing, and that's one of the ways to downsize and to get a cheaper apparatus in the future.
And Mayor, if I may, what these guys are doing is exceptional. I've worked at a lot of different places, and the way they're talking about trying to save money and trying to do the right thing for the village, I got to tell you, it's a good thing to hear. It's very unusual for the fire department to be that financial conscious of the expenditures.
The residents appreciate that, because we need to stay focused on money here, and I do understand what they need, but I just always like to throw this out to keep us all centered here. We're taking another 30% loss from 1.5 million when unit 3 shuts, and then the 1.5 million, we're going to take another 30%. So we're looking at a 60% loss from our revenue plus. So it's just tough times, and we'll try to figure something out. We need to look at how to cut expenses in other places. If this is equipment that's definitely needed, then you know what? We're going to have a very tough budget session this year, and we really need to look about pulling in a lot of reins and doing some, and I've been saying this and saying this and saying this and saying this. We're going through our toughest challenges. This is the biggest hit coming up. And this is when now, the board is looking at doing some things for development. It's got to happen fast. I'm hoping the different pieces of the puzzle come together here, the different funding. Hopefully we get some funding for the spent fuel. But it's just a difficult time. But if you're telling me that the 1998 is not a reliable vehicle, then we really need to look at that. But like I said, I'm going to go back to, I didn't realize that it was also a utility truck. I know we had talked a year or 2 years ago about replacing the pumper. My personal thought is I hate to see these smaller trucks, these specialized trucks. I'd rather see a full-size truck. But I do understand there's no room. And I know, Bob, you and I have talked about the metal buildings. And I know the firehouse was supposed to look into that, but that's another expense. I've seen something, general buildings or something that do those metal buildings, but then where do you put that? The property over there is not that large where the firehouse is. So,
it's complicated.
Yeah.
This has come up before, and we talked about it the other day, and it's like a giant jigsaw puzzle. It's like really hard to figure this. There's no easy answer to that one.
No.
Throw out one thing just as a side thought, not something to get into right now because there's no answer. But as we, we're talking about maybe having some taller buildings in the village, possibly something getting developed over by Lens Cove. And we need to, maybe when these kinds of projects come in, part of the negotiating might be somebody putting up, an extension or a bill. I mean, just in some way helping to feed into the fire department since they'll be availing themselves of that service. Don't know exactly, no specifics here, just a general thought that we should be keeping in mind.
That's a discussion we need to have soon. That's a discussion because now what the developers do, they give X amount of dollars for quote unquote recreation. So I don't know, what the answer is to that. But before you're going to start this development, the board needs to understand what are the requirements. So that's a discussion we need to have soon.
Yeah. And you can't put too many obstacles in front of the developer.
No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
That's something to keep as one of the playing pieces in this chess game.
Yes.
Let me just make a comment. I view this through the lens of making sure that the village safety is more paramount to everything involved, and to make sure that we are very prudent in our understanding that that is job one, that the safety of the village and its apparatus in terms of do they have the ability to do what's going to be needed. And I just want to make sure we keep that in mind going forward.
Oh, absolutely. And Dwayne, but that's what that is what this board does. This is what we do. We for the safety of the village residents, that's paramount. The quality of life, that's what the board does. But I just want everybody to understand where the village is. I have to keep bringing people back because I still hear people saying this isn't happening. It's happening. So I just need to keep people grounded. I just want to constantly mention that because it's constantly on my mind. So
thank you.
So as I'm saying, if you're telling me that the 1998 pumper is a problem, it's not a reliable vehicle, then, we need to address that.
Do you want, Andy, to explain what's wrong with that vehicle a little further? I mean,
I certainly can. Just recently we had a problem with it. It kept stalling out on us. Every time we drove it, it would stall. Every time we tried to pump with it, it would stall out. We went through 2 manufacturers or 2 repair shops that worked on the apparatus, and one just pretty much walked away from it and said that they couldn't fix it. The second one actually tried, and it was out of service for 1 month before they could actually fix it. As of right now, knock on wood, everything is fine and it's working, but it's just unreliable that's the only problem that it has. It's constantly had electrical problems. The other thing I want to state, Mayor, is that I understand that we're looking to replace 2 rigs, but in order to get the full-size pumper in that spot, we have to get rid of the rescue that we have now. And the only way we can do that and keep up the services that we have is to replace it with this smaller utility pickup truck. It will not fit.
So you're looking at a pickup truck, a utility pickup truck. I thought you were looking at the other utility. I'm sorry.
It's a utility pickup truck with a utility body on the back of it.
Okay.
That will act as a rescue truck and also carry our jaws of life.
Okay.
But in order to do that, we couldn't do that. We would have had to go with another customized pumper to fit in that same spot if we kept the rescue we have now. And that would have cost at least 25 to 30% more to make it smaller because they're not building small apparatus anymore.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
The other question that I have is, will the board allow me at this point in time to go out and solicit so that we can find out exactly how much we can get for the 2 apparatus that we have now? When I talked to the one person, that's where we came up with those figures, and that was just him looking at the website. Okay. They never actually looked at the apparatus themselves to see what kind of shape it's in. I think, again, a guess, but I think we can get more than what we said.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. And by the way, anybody on the board that would like to just be shown these vehicles and actually see the physical vehicles and what the space issue is, I'm pretty sure that Andy and the other people at the firehouse would be more than happy to accommodate you.
I think Stephanie had a question, Mayor.
Yes, Stephanie, please. Your question?
Yeah, no, just a quick question. You're talking about the utility that you want to replace with a pickup, right? Why can't the utility be parked outside? Why do you need to park it inside? Which is why you're getting rid of one, because it's too large to put in with a full-size pumper, right?
Correct. The reason why you want to park it inside is because it has the EMS equipment and it has the jaws of life, and it's just better being parked inside where it's a heated garage. are at least being out of the element. The EMS equipment is very susceptible to cold and heat.
And that's what's in your current utility.
Rescue truck, yes, Rescue 26.
Andy, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's not like a, people are picturing a pickup truck now, but it's actually a smaller enclosed rescue vehicle, similar to what you have, but smaller? Or is it it's not an open pickup truck?
No, it's a pickup front end, crew cab pickup with a utility body on the back, closed compartments and everything like that.
Probably kind of like our
That
new
looks like
water.
this?
Just like that.
Oh, okay, yeah,
That's it.
okay.
Yeah, we have one up in Somers, and it stays outside all the time. That's why I'm asking.
It's looking like an EMS truck, but it's not, don't picture a pickup truck. It's a pickup chassis, I guess, but not the back of the vehicle.
So, Stephanie, I don't know what they have on that, but if they have oxygen on that, that cannot be subject to freezing temperatures outside. I mean, you put that on somebody, get them to a call from outside, you'll do them more harm than good. So that's why anything with oxygen on it has to stay inside. That's why your ambulances are inside. And that is the truck that we're trying to downsize, Mayor. That's the rescue truck that's on the right front side of the building. Reduce that down, the space is another problem for another day. But right now, and some of the board may wonder that 5 years ago we went to refurb the 91 Pierce. The 91 Pierce lasted us, and it was a good truck. It didn't have very, very many maintenance issues, so we felt if we refurbed it, we would get, maybe an additional 10 years out of it. Now, just for the board, the NFPA recommends that frontline pumpers be no more than 15 years old. Okay, it's a recommendation by the NFPA. So we have tried to stretch this as far as we can to help everybody. And at one point, we're going to have to make that and pull that trigger to buy a new one. So we feel we need this because we can't go much further the way we're going. So.
All right, so what would the board like to do? Would they like to have Andy check on the different prices, what we can get for the two vehicles, the trade-ins?
I think that should be explored, absolutely.
Okay.
And I think maybe Marcus, based on the numbers we just talked about, if you could, run some numbers with financing, that would also help us see what we're dealing with.
Yeah, what I can do, Nick, I could do a spreadsheet and show the down payment and see what the payment schedule will be for future debt payment. It will be interesting too, Andy or Bob. You said the pumper is being built now, won't be available till next year. Is that correct?
21.
February, right? February.
That's
21.
Okay, couple months from now. Okay, I just want to see what the timeline is. So both trucks could be available in the next couple months. I want to see what the timeline looks like. Is that correct?
The utility truck is available right now. The pumper is being built as we speak. However, the thing that we all have to realize at this point in time is without putting any money down on that, it's not our vehicle. Anybody else could come in and buy that tomorrow, and it would not be available anymore.
Okay, and that's the $100,000 truck.
That's both of them.
That's both of them. And I think the fire apparatus that we're looking for, the full-size vehicle, I think requires a 25%, Andy, down.
That's correct. Yes.
25 to hold it. So if we want that truck in February to be Buchanan's, we have to make a move very shortly.
And that could, then the board needs to come to a consensus to, if they want to approve this, and then that down payment could come out of the vehicle replacement fund.
I just have a question. We don't, what I'm hearing from everybody is we don't seem to really, there's not really much of choice when it comes to safety, as the mayor was saying. I mean, it's like any person who owns a vehicle. At some point, you got to say, well, its life is dead, and go on from there. So, I'd say go ahead go ahead and go forward, try to get as much money for the older equipment so that we could use it towards the down payment on the newer stuff.
Does that have to be put on the agenda so the board can make a decision, the January meeting?
I would say yes to
Yep.
authorize
Okay.
authorize everything we've been talking about, so we can create a motion for the board to consider at the next meeting.
Okay.
Yep.
And by then, they should have some information back to us. And what color is it gonna be? Because I know that there's another, the Verplank has green. We're gonna stay with red, right?
Red and white, correct.
Okay. It's a woman thing. We ask what color, you know.
Hey, Bob, what make is it? What kind of truck is it?
The one that's currently going to be done in February is a Pierce.
Oh, okay, up in Brewster? Up there?
Yeah, there's a vendor out of Carmel, fireman.
Yeah. I was just up there, yeah. They have nice, it's a nice place.
We actually got lucky here because, as you know, the 91 is a Pierce, and I got to tell you, they built a tremendous truck to get us to where we are today. So if we can get lucky with another Pierce and last us another 30 years, and it's a home run.
Yeah, it's like cars, brand allegiance.
Yeah.
So, Andy or Bob, you need 25% down for the pumper. Do you need the same percentage for the rescue truck as well? How would that work?
I do not know what that would require at this point in time.
If you could let me know too, but that way, if that should be part of the motion for the next meeting, if that's what the board wants to consider.
Sure.
So just to clarify, you guys are going to make that motion in January. So we still have an open end for what, 3 weeks, 2 weeks?
January 5th.
2 weeks.
January 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Because the problem is, Bob, we're expending village taxpayer dollars.
Yeah, I know.
You know.
Yeah, no, I just trying to figure out, maybe, Andy, you can call Pierce and maybe you can hold them off tell the village board's going to vote on the 5th. And I'll sell it out from under us.
Yeah. I can tell them whatever you want me to tell them, but you know as well as I do that if somebody comes in with some money.
Yeah, if somebody comes in with cash, it's,
The hard reality.
yeah.
But that's the time, that's
Yeah.
the process we have to go through. So let's give it a shot.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to everybody. And thank you guys for what you're doing.
We'll talk to
Thank
you
you very much. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next on the agenda, shared services with the city of Peekskill. Marcus, do you want to go through that?
Sure. We actually discussed this some time ago where Eric Johansson was here, and we just missed it. And the board said, just go with it. The city just reminded me that we didn't approve it. So I gave you the list. It's a $200 increase per year. This for 9/11 and dispatching for the police department. I think it's money well spent. And Eric did express that at the meeting, and everybody seemed to go ahead with it. So it would just be on the agenda to authorize the mayor to sign a new agreement with the city of Peekskill for 5 years. And
Hey, Marcus,
Yes.
we've been doing this in the past, correct?
Oh, absolutely. It's
Yes.
it's every 5 years. Yes.
Yeah, I remember this. This is.
Yep.
Okay.
Very good.
Good, that's settled. Streetlight replacement. We need to, there's 5 lights, decorative lights. I had most of the board out today on Westchester Avenue and also at the village, parking lot, the, post office. And they saw the post, what needs to be replaced. And I know also on, Pheasants Run. There's one on Pheasants Run.
Total of 5.
Correct. Well, no, I think it's 4, and Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, there's a replacement, there's one you'd like to have as a spare.
Yes.
Okay, so here's the question, So can we take, I know an electrician's gonna hook this stuff up anyhow. Can we take those poles the ones that are to the left of the driveway, right in front of the other building, and use those, you know, so they're all exactly the same. One in the post office lot, one in Pheasants Run, and I believe one is next to the driveway going into the post office, towards the back there, behind that restaurant. And, you know, the board was looking at maybe that other section. I don't know. It's just kind of hard for 5 poles. What was it, like $16,000-$17,000? So we were just questioning that. Maybe something, a different type of a pole going down to the left. Just a thought. We're just throwing it out. What the options are here.
Well, when you say to the left, we have 2 out on Westchester Avenue.
Okay, yes, there's 2. So what I was saying is, so as you turn on right onto Westchester Avenue,
right,
there's that building where the planning board years ago made the woman who owned the building put in a sidewalk and put in all those decorative lights. That, oh gosh, that had to be about 25 years ago. So what we were thinking, as you're turning on to Westchester Avenue, there's 2 or 3 right there. But as you go in front of the other building, where they have now, what does that guy do? With the backhoes, things like he repairs things, right. The backhoe, the buckets. So we were thinking of maybe doing something, not the same, but something different in that area. And pulling up those other ones to use as the replacements by the post office, by Pheasants Run. Just a thought. You know, we were just looking at options. What are our options?
Well, you can do whatever you want as far as posts, but is what they're going to look like. If you want them to look like the other posts, is the challenge to make them so they look aesthetically pleasing to the eye there. And the other issue we do have is that where those posts are broke right now, there's power right there. There's wires in the sidewalk.
I know, and we probably should have had an electrician come in before to shut that down.
Well,
instead of a plate
that may end up saying shut down all those lights because they're all connected. You have to go to the
be able to just cut off that one, the wires going into that one area, that one post. They're all interconnected?
Yes.
Ugh, that's crazy.
Well, just for safety, is there anything that needs to get capped off?
Well, they're capped off now, and that's why the barrels are there.
Okay.
We really can't, there's not much we can do with them. They've been like that for, I couldn't even imagine how many years now, probably 5 years or more.
Yeah. And how did those get broken anyhow? Because they were snapped.
Different poles are very expensive. Excuse me?
How did they get broken anyhow? Because we've got several of them broken. They're like snapped.
Some of them we don't know. I'm assuming a truck backed into the one at the post office parking lot. That's been many, many years ago. We've had a couple of these been snapped in the past. One was a car accident, I believe.
And I hope
one was, I believe, we caught one with a plow probably about 6 years ago. One of our drivers hit one with a plow. We were in a heavy snowstorm. The snow actually got it, not the plow.
Okay. All right.
So how many of these need to get replaced in terms of essential lighting as opposed to aesthetics?
That's a good question. I mean, it depends on the residents that are complaining about it. I know the one on Pheasants Run, they do complain about that. It's very dark down there.
Yeah, it is dark.
The one on Westchester Avenue, we can all see how it looks.
So these are 2,640 each?
2,640 each, not counting the globe that goes on top.
Which is $312.50.
That would be for the glass globe. They would come with the plastic one. The plastic ones are all the ones that look like they're filthy all the time and dirty and brown. The glass ones look nicer.
Yeah.
The glass ones all around the village, they look a lot nicer.
Right.
They don't have to look damn, but they do look nicer.
Right. So $3,000 each, basically.
And that's about average. I've seen every place else. Those decorative street lights are normally that much, to be honest with you, any place you go.
And then there's installation on top of that.
Yeah, it's about $400, yes.
And did we get prices from other people?
They were a challenge to find those light poles.
Okay.
I files and files and called up many vendors that sell light poles, and they couldn't help me. And I finally found the one that helped us many years ago. We've had to replace these.
Gotcha. So is the $3,000 price per light pole, regardless of whether we do 1 or 10?
Yes.
So we need lighting at Pheasants Run.
Yeah, that's a definite.
Where else is it in terms of lighting? You know, like if there's maybe there's 2 or 3 that we need in terms of lighting that we can just do, and then if there's a couple that we don't need in terms of lighting, we could just make sure that they're safely kept. You know.
Nick, I need you to take a ride down there too to look at that.
Yeah, you know, you did ask me to do that. I got
That's
back
okay.
late, I didn't get a chance.
All right. So let's, for now, Marcus, let's put this on the agenda and then we can still discuss it at the meeting.
Sure, no problem.
Is that okay with the board? Are you?
Yeah. Have we dealt with this vendor before?
Yes. This is where we got these poles in the past.
Okay, so they're reliable.
Yeah. Well, excuse me. The vendor is a different vendor. The vendor we originally got them from is out of business. And so then I called up the manufacturer of the poles, and they pointed me to another vendor in Mount Kisco, who's been very helpful to me trying to get these.
Okay.
It's a process.
Yeah.
And Nick, if you would like to meet me down there tomorrow and take a look at these poles or whatever,
I'm going to be in the city all day tomorrow, Bob. But sometime over the next week, I'd like to.
Okay, give me a call.
Bob, I also want to mention, I don't know if you know, the light is out in going into the post office parking lot, the first one to the right and the one to all the way in the back on the right. So there's 2 lights that I saw, so.
Okay, yeah, we've had a run on those going out.
Yeah, well, they go in the same time, they go off the same time, so.
Yes.
One of those things. All right, so we'll put that on the agenda, the board can, discuss it and, okay?
Sounds good, thank you.
Yep.
Moving on, proposed change to the village code, the bulk regulations.
Stephanie and Nick were working on that. The draft that Stephanie wrote up was sent to the village board for comment. So the idea would be, if this is something you want to discuss, we can put on the agenda to call for a public hearing, unless the board has any questions now, or if Nick or Stephanie want to explain the changes to the code.
What is when they say bulk regulation? Define what that is?
Stephanie? Oh, Nick?
Yeah, I'm just, I lost my Zoom here. I hear you, but I went to another screen and now I'm lost. Let's see. How do I get back there?
That's all right, you can hear us. There's
on video.
Video on. There you go.
Well, you see me right now?
No, you have to click on video. Start video.
Yeah, but I totally lost the
screen. To the right side of the screen, you should.
No, I lost my screen. Let's see.
Oh, you lost your screen.
Yes, please.
Hey, Marcus.
Arrow. Okay, go ahead, Stephanie.
Go ahead, Steph.
Wait, Marcus, didn't we schedule this for a public hearing already? Is this not a public hearing coming up? I could be wrong. There's so many of these.
Let me see. Was this on the public hearing?
I think we're.
Yes, it is. It is. Yep, it is scheduled for a public hearing. That's correct. Sorry, Stephanie.
I think I published it. I think it's on for a public hearing already.
It is a public hearing. Yes.
Okay.
All right, because that was on the agenda.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Proposed for a public hearing.
Yeah.
The only thing is, I think since our last discussion, Stephanie drafted something, and it's on the paperwork that Marcus sent us.
It's actually, hey Nick, excuse me 1 second. It's actually, I already sent that before the last meeting.
Yes.
The red lettering, and what I did now was just inserted it into where it would look like in the code. But I haven't changed anything. It's exactly the same.
Right. So I think it's I think you organize it better by keeping it with the other part of the code.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's one thing though, the wording on 21117 on the draft that I have here.
Okay.
under A, front yard exception, you did change the wording a little bit, and there's one inaccurate thing. It says when an unimproved lot, for front yard exception, when an unimproved lot is situated between two improved lots, each having a principal building within 20 feet.
I didn't change that. I believe that's what came from the code. Unless you and I had changed it earlier, I think that's
No,
what's
I
in the
think
code.
it's just like, okay, let's see.
Of the
I have to go back to it. Because I have two developed lots, each having 20 feet to the side lot line, and to say within 20 feet is incorrect, because that means it's between 20 feet and 0. Technically, within 20 feet of the side lot line is not right. It should be,
All right, I'm looking it up right now.
Huh?
I'm looking it up on the code as it reads right now.
And so it shouldn't say within 20 feet, it should say the principal building 20 feet to the side lot line.
Okay,
Minimum.
well, the way it reads right now is the way the code reads right now. Okay,
It says within?
it absolutely does. I'm reading it off the code.
Okay, can you read it?
So if you wanna change that, now's the time to do it since we're changing it.
Can you read what it says exactly?
On the code itself?
Yeah.
Hold on.
You read 211-17?
211-17A, front yard exception. When an unimproved lot is situated between two improved lots, each having a principal building within 20 feet of the side lot line of the unimproved lot, the front yard may be reduced to a depth equal to that of the greater front yard of the two adjoining lots, provided, however, that it may not be reduced to below 10 feet in residential districts.
Okay, so I kind of wrote down my own interpretation of it, and when I read that, I interpreted that as meaning that the building had to be at least 20 feet from the side lot line. This is saying that the building is within 20 feet. Does that mean that within 20 feet means that it's 20 feet or less? Is that an inappropriate, I'm not sure what the intent is here, but you're saying? I was treating it as though it had to be at least 20 feet from the side lot line. To say within 20 feet means it's 20 feet or less. I left you speechless.
Well, I'm trying to read it real quick because I hadn't looked at it before.
Right, so you did copy it accurately, but I'm not sure if that was poorly worded, because, right, to say the principal building is in 20 feet means it's between the lot line and the 20 mark. It's sort of pointless. I think the intent is to say that the building should be 20 feet or more. I'm not sure. What do you think? Because the way we worded the next part, it's being treated as though it's 20 feet or more. The way that's worded, it means that it's 20 feet or less.
Within 20 feet. Yeah, I don't think that was the intent. I mean, I don't know. I think you're correct. Why would you want it within? It could be 0 feet or 2 feet.
No. The point
doesn't make sense.
I think it's just inaccurate wording because English is a challenging language.
It is, isn't it? So, I mean, I could actually make that change and send it to you and just make it fit in with the wording that we did on 1, 2, and 3.
To principal building 20 feet instead 20 feet to the side lot line. Omit the word within and change the word of to 2.
Okie doke. I mean, if you're bored, I'll change it. That's up to your board to vote on it. I'll definitely change it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Stephanie, could you reinsert that and send it to the board so that they can review that with it all?
Yeah, I'll add the new, I'll put a strike through with the words we're doing within, we're taking out, and I'll add the red, which will be the new wording. But the rest of it, I think, Nick,
the last part I think came out of our discussion, Stephanie. I don't know if there was an exact explanation of this at the last workshop, but in part 3, we added in part 2, where did we put the thing given the zoning board? Part 3, I'm sorry. We gave the zoning board a little guidance that that they can offer up to a 20% variance on the 30-foot requirement.
Yeah.
Which means you can go from 30 to 24 at the zoning board's discretion. Because sometimes, if you interpret the code strictly, the zoning board is supposed to be able to give variances, but there are certain cases where the guidance is to not give a variance, and sometimes they're coming to us because they don't have guidance, and this kind of gives them some guidance that on what percentage of variance they can give. So 20% variance on 30 feet means 20% of 30 feet is 6 feet, so you can go from 30 to 24 at your discretion.
Yes, and I put that in. If you look at 21137, that last part I changed, and I just added a reference to it so that they'll know to go back and see if they have the ability to do that.
Yeah.
And
dot.
Yeah, so I'll make those changes and redistribute.
Perfect. Thank you, Steph.
Sure.
Look at that. We have to, overriding the New York State property tax, under the circumstances, there's no way around that. So Marcus, would you like to speak about that?
Yeah, this is sometime in the past, many years ago by the state. So every time you go over the tax cap, you have to adopt a local law in advance. Knowing the situation we're looking at, we definitely are going to go over the tax cap. So we want to meet the state requirements to have the local law adopted.
And going back, how many years ago? 3-4 years ago, if the school, the town, the village, if everybody kept within the tax cap, then the residents, the taxpayer would be reimbursed, but they have since stopped using that.
That's correct.
So, of course, we like to keep within the tax cap, but, with what's going on in the village with the closure points, a little difficult to do that.
Correct.
Okay.
Here, I'll say.
Yeah. So the next thing, village election information. Have you gotten any information, Marcus, from the state if they're still planning on doing a regular March election, or?
I'm going to let Cindy as village clerk maybe provide a quick update.
Okay.
Yes, as far as we know, it's still going to be March 16th. And this resolution is just stating the polling places.
Okay, good.
Basic resolution.
All right, so that was easy. So the other thing is the Blakely Avenue traffic. I have noticed that the sign is down, and I know we have some things to address over there. And I really believe that we have to look at a weight limit, because the left sign is just not working. So Marcus, I don't know, we need someone to look into, or even George Palmer, asking George Palmer what his recommendation is, ask the police department, what they know about weight limits, because we really have to have these heavy commercial vehicles go not through, our residential area, and not have total access to Blakely Avenue. So that traffic, really, the commercial traffic, the garbage trucks, the not only the garbage trucks, I'm not picking on one business, but any of those heavy weight equipment should not be able to traverse up and down the whole Blakely Avenue, really hurting the road. The weight limit on that road should be changed. The traffic, that commercial traffic, should be directed out through the back, out through Louisa Street, and they can access going into the highway, into 9 that way. What I had originally asked too is to, Marcus, for you to go to the Department of Transportation and ask them if we would be able to put a sign on the village property on Albany Post Road to stop the vehicles also from taking a right-hand turn from 9 onto Blakely Avenue, because I see a lot of heavy trucks just going right on that road. And yes, we have a lot of residents on that left side there, and there's fewer on the other side going out the back. Unfortunately, it's closer to Entergy. It's more of a commercial drive there. So I think the intent is to stop the traffic from coming in from 9 and going out on 9 in that area.
9A, you mean, right?
9A.
Yeah, the DOT did approve if the village wants to put signs on Route 9A to say no right-hand turns for trucks. We can do that. The concern is if they get to that intersection, they can't make a right-hand turn, then they'll have to go to the circle and then turn back around. So, and I did talk to George. He said this is outside his wheelhouse. You have to get a traffic engineer. If you want, I get a proposal on a traffic engineer, because you're absolutely right. If we're going to stop that and then we're going to force everybody to come off of John Walsh Boulevard, then we definitely have to talk to the DOT, because we have to tell truck traffic to get off Welcher Avenue and Peekskill and come down Broadway. So it's a little bit more complicated. And want to make sure we meet all DOT standards. So I would definitely go to find a traffic engineer, get a proposal, get an idea of what we have to get accomplished and how to get it done.
Could work with us. They've been good. They have really been good with the construction of the road. But, you know, really before you even get to the Louisa Street exit, they really have to help us with some signage on 9 there going south, so that the cars don't come off on not Blakely. They don't come off on Welcher Avenue.
Right.
They take the exit before. So
Right. Well, that sign that's there that says Indian Point next exit is Welcher, where it should have been up above Louisa, right? Am I wrong?
I think you're talking about going north, Dwayne.
No. Going south. Going south.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You bypass Louisa, and it says Indian Point next stop, which is Welcher.
You're correct, Wayne. You're correct.
Welcher, and then coming north, it's Indian Point Welcher, as opposed to being Indian Point Louisa. So it's, I think if you move those two signs to take them to Louisa, that's half the problem right there.
Right.
Get them off of Welcher Avenue.
yeah, I just wish there was signage going south for them instead of coming to the Welcher Avenue thing. So before that bridge, some type of signage for the sheetrock plant, for Indian Point. Get off. What the hardest thing is, and I feel bad for them. They're out of town. It's the big tractor trailers for the sheetrock. Their GPS sends them over to Blakely Avenue, but they don't know to do anything different because there's no other signage to tell them to take the exit before.
Right.
So there's one of the problems. I'm just looking to preserve that road. I'm just looking to cut down on the heavy truck traffic there, and it's going to have to be done by weight limit. But then we're also going to need signs on 9A.
And you're going to have to train whoever's stopping these people.
I do understand there's an officer that's interested in doing that. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I think to approach the state and see if we can get a sign put up directing them to Louisa going north and south long before they get to Welcher is a start in the right direction.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that would be good, but I think there's a couple of other side issues. The coming out of Greentown Road should only pertain to the commercial vehicles. It should not just be a no left turn or whatever for passenger vehicles, for people, because people from Save a Tree and from AAA might go with their own vehicles to work. Those people should not have to follow the same regulations as the trucks. Also, I was talking to somebody at from Save a Tree. I was talking to the fellow from Save a Tree, and he pointed out that we really need a stop sign at that corner also, which came up at the last meeting. Whatever the history of that stop sign was, I think we should have a stop sign there. Somebody who's going, somebody who's not familiar with that intersection could just plow through. It sounds like the trucks, whether they're making a right or a left, it ain't pretty. If they're making a right, they're swinging out into the other direction, the other lane of cars coming eastbound on Blakely. If they're making a left, they're blocking the cars coming westbound. any truck pulling out of there is potentially going to interfere with cars, there's no way around that other than to put a three-way stop sign with about 30 feet of striping between the stop sign and the intersection. There's no pretty way to do it. So,
what about that driveway, Nick? Is there any way that, I don't know, is there any way that right-hand side could, and I'm not looking to spend.
Greentown Road, you mean?
The Greentown.
Well, yes, if you create
easier for a truck to swing right.
Yes, that's a good point. And why don't we tell AAA, you pay for it?
There you go.
Because it serves.
I'm just trying to figure out the solution to the problem, and this is good. We're bouncing it back and forth, talking about it,
That's a good point. Round out that curve so there's a radius for a larger vehicle.
And then we don't have to worry about the, going into the other lane of traffic.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So my recommendation is I want to get a traffic engineer to look at all these options because he'll know what the radius for the truck traffic was necessary and meet DOT standards, and also protects the village from any kind of liability. And also he has a good relationship with the DOT too. We can talk about signage as well. So we can approach this and got a whole bunch of different ideas, and I want to make sure we'll get them all correct and see what the best options and get a proposal back to the board, and also we can have a discussion with the DOT.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Let's move along on that.
All right, good.
I think I have covered everything on the agenda. Marcus, did I miss anything?
Just a quick little thing. Mary, you want to mention the petition?
Oh, yes. We have, I know it should have been out earlier, but this is a tough week with Christmas and New Year's next week, but there is another petition that's gone out. We're asking everyone to sign it. This petition is for, there's a few things. There's a few legislation on it. The most important legislation to us is so that the governor signs the legislation that allows us to tax the spent fuel that's going to be sitting on the pads there. So I think by the end of the year, he should be calling for the legislation. And Marcus, one thing I think we need to do, we have sent this out before. We're looking to send out another one. But the original one, if you could send that again as a reminder to the governor.
Sure.
We have that one, and just mention, whoever you send it to, that there is another one, we'll be forwarding also.
Yep.
So the town will be sending out this, the town will be sending it out, the school district will be sending it out, so please, when you see it, please sign, please check that we should be able to, tax the spent fuel and ask the governor to, please sign that legislation. It's important to the community.
Yeah, it's on the village website, so pass the word along just to click on the link, and all you can do is put your name and email address, and that's all you have to do.
Did we mention it in the newsletter as well?
You know what, the newsletter I think went out before.
It was just before, yes.
Oh, okay.
I didn't have the link yet.
But it will rely on social media.
And Teresa, when you say the school and the town are sending it out, they're sending it out in paper form, in the mail?
No, so out on Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many people are on Facebook?
Oh, there's a lot. How many did we get last time, Marcus?
Over 2,000.
Yeah.
I'm hoping the school would send it out to all their parents. They have an email list for all their parents in the Hendra Hudson School District. So I asked the superintendent to please send it out to all the parents, and then the town was going to put it on the email and Facebook as well to everybody in the town. So hopefully, if we can get 2,000 or 3,000 people, I think that's a good number. So friends, family, everybody that's watching, please just click on that link and get it done. I would appreciate. We're up to 72. So
a little slower. It's a tough time of year. Yeah, it's just a tough time of year. People are very busy now too. So,
And Mayor, if I may, I also want to make a quick little announcement. I got a meeting with the Con Edison tomorrow. Just got informed that they're going to put a new gas main on Broadway from John Walsh Boulevard to Blakely Avenue. And they're going to put a new gas main in. So we're going to meet with them tomorrow and find out where they're going to put it, what kind of impacts to the traffic that might cause, and how long it's going to take. So I'll be able to give you guys an update tomorrow after I meet with Con Edison.
And also mention to them that that's nice that they're doing that because we want safety with the gas lines, but also mention to them that they have to repave part of the road.
Yes. Well, whatever they dig up, I'm hoping if they hopefully they dig up more to the middle of the road, the entire lane.
Put them in the middle. Yeah, put them in the middle. So the middle is better. Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah. Oh, that's kind of a strange time of year to be doing that, but that's how it is.
Yeah.
Also, I want to, Marcus, I don't know if you've seen anything on the email with the $15 million fund that, with the closure of Indian Point, that Entergy had set up as an agreement. I see that the town has resent their request. I believe that in the next couple of months we should be dealing with that too. But of course, you know, we had a list of things that we were looking to do with that money, especially a new sewer treatment plant. So we will be pursuing that tooth and nail. Have you seen anything from Tom Kesmerick on that, Marcus?
No, nothing at all. Nothing.
Okay, I will check into that. Okay. Marcus, do you have anything else?
Nope, that's it. That's it for me.
Okay, board members, is there anyone that has anything to discuss?
Just wondering if anybody had any questions regarding the overlay. I sent an email suggesting a few buildings to look at in the area that are 3 stories, and I don't know if anybody had any questions.
No, I'm good with that. I'm still in support of the project going forward.
You know, Nick, I'm glad you brought that up. What I'd like to do, let's schedule anybody that's interested, any board members, anybody that's interested. I'd like to do a visual on that because I do want to point a few things out. I'm still in favor for the east side of the road. I'm not really looking to do the west side, and it's probably make it easier. Nothing against. So I'm doing this because I just think those lots are way too small. It's too close to Lindsay Avenue. There's a bunch of different issues I have with that. So the side across from the fire department, the side where Little Bear is, I just think that whole strip there, those lots are very small to the left and right of Little Bear. And also remember, there is a lot that's for sale between Gallagher and Catherine Street. There's a 2-family house there now. It's, I understand, a double lot. It's being sold for $500,000, but you know,
on Lindsay.
Yeah, it's like at the very end of Lindsay. It's
Lindsay
kind of
not on the
9A
overlay
type thing. Yeah, which is it's not. It's still on 9A though, because it's between Catherine and it's between Gallagher. It's right across from, not the hardware store, but the other building to the right of the hardware store. So I don't know how that would look being a 3-story building there. So I just, like I said,
the lot is borders 9A?
Yes, yeah. There's a sidewalk in front of it. So if you took a right onto Catherine Street, the first house on the right is a 2-family house, but that also goes over to Gallagher Street. It's a big piece of property.
I have to look it up.
Yeah. That's why, you know, anyone that would, you know, has time next week, I'd like to actually do like a little walk to look at the properties.
Yeah.
So we have a better idea.
One thing, because the property, the triangle property across from the hardware store, I was looking at the other day, is actually the 3 stories is based on 9A frontage, you know.
Right.
So that is actually roughly 1 story lower because from Lindsay it slopes down. So from Lindsay you would not be looking at more than 2 stories above grade. You know what I mean? There's a slope there that would eliminate 1 floor in height, and that's generally from Lindsay to 9A there is a downslope. But I think it's a good idea. We could maybe look at it like the buildings that I think are good to look at. The 2 over by India House, those 2 little mixed-use buildings. One was put in a few years ago, and one's been there for about 15 years.
But Nick, I think the one that'll give the best idea would be the house, the building where, not everybody's going to remember where this is. The halfway house was, where that building is. That, so that's a better concept to people in the village to look at that. The other thing is where the Dunkin' Donuts is. I know they say it's a 2-story building, but with the elevations, if you go around back, there's a whole floor in the back.
Yeah, but you have a 2-story house. You have a house in the village on the street with a slope that's 2 stories, and because the property slopes down the back, they could have a walkout basement, and it's very similar.
Yeah. So you could go around to the back of that to see what a 3-story would look like there too. I think I would keep it in the context of the village, what the village looks like, a building in the village would look like, or Bannon Avenue, things like that. So it's easier for people to get a concept of what that would look like. But I'm still I'm still interested in it, but I'm just, to me, the west side, the opposite side, the side where the hardware store is. I really don't have a problem with that. There is a wooded area behind. There's the transmission lines behind that property from Con Edison. So I don't have a problem on that side of the road. I'm just having a tough time with the other side of the road.
Well, we can take a look at it. I think that if you don't do both sides, I think it's kind of getting diluted a bit much. But let's do the visuals. Let's. When were you thinking of doing? And if we're going to do a group site inspection, do we have to advertise it?
If it's more than 3?
More than 2.
More than 2, sorry.
Yeah. So, well,
you can advertise it and just do then walk around.
Or do it on their own. I don't know. Or pair.
All right, I'm available on Tuesday. The rest of the board members, I could come there, see what I want to see, say what I want to say, and then leave.
Yeah.
Somebody else can come, that type of a thing. So
And take pictures.
Dwayne's going to be our photographer.
Teresa, I'll go when you go. Just let me know.
Okay.
I'll go with you. Okay. Just let me know.
All right, we'll figure it out.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. What else did I want to mention? I think that's it. Any other board members? Anything else? Because we still need to go into executive session.
Yeah, nothing from me.
Okay.
Good here.
Well, happy holidays to everybody. Yeah. gonna miss that, but have a beautiful holiday, Christmas, Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate, and a happy New Year to all of those people who are listening out in Buchanan land today. And stay safe. Stay safe and keep it simple. And be here for next Christmas.
Yeah. And Dwayne, you have a very festive shirt on. Looks good.
Okay.
Oh, wait, we have somebody in the chat. 314 Albany Post Road.
Right.
I think that's the property you were mentioning before,
Yeah.
Teresa.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, so I don't know if anybody from the planning board, for their opinion, their comments. Also, we did get a comment from 1 or 2 of the planning board members with their thoughts, which was good. I was happy to see that. Okay. Okay, everyone. Merry Christmas, happy and healthy New Year, and as they say, we'll see you in the new year. On a motion to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues?
So moved.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.